What is up, everyone? It is your girl,
And
Nicole,
it's your girl, Jordan.
and you are tuned into the Playbook Diaries podcast, and we have some great stuff to talk about. Jordan, where have you been at?
I have been in Atlanta on a work trip for 2 weeks. I've been gone.
You sure you haven't been going? You sure you haven't been partying?
I did a little bit of that in Atlanta, but I was there for work. What you been up to?
You're like, damn. I've been cool. I've been cool. My SMU Mustangs are ranked not the top 12 like we would want, but we're ranked number 13 in the official college football rankings, which we will talk about a little bit later. But I
Okay.
can't complain.
Okay, perfect. That's
I
good.
can't
That's
complain.
good. So on that note, let's get started with a recap of this past week's games in college football, which brought
For
so
sure.
much excitement because we had quite a few upsets. So this one I wouldn't count as a necessarily an upset because they're so closely ranked, but the number 4 Ohio State Buckeyes defeated the number 3 Penn State. What are they? Nittany Lions. That's what they are.
Yeah. What is
I
Nittany?
don't know what the hell that is.
Okay, we can
The
keep
Penn
going.
State Lions. Okay. Then we had an unranked South Carolina defeat a number 10 Texas A&M team. They beat the dog shit out of them 44-20. A mess. Then you have unranked Texas Tech defeated a number 11 Iowa State in a 23-22 matchup, which means, battle of the Big 12. Big 12 is
Yeah.
going to be a close conference this year. You have unranked Louisville versus number 11 Clemson, where they defeated a ranked Clemson 33-21. And then rounding us out, second to last but not least, we have Houston versus number 17 Kansas State, also in the Big 12, where Houston
Yeah.
upset Kansas State 24-19. And then last but not least, we have Minnesota versus the number 24 Illinois team, defeating them in an upset 25-17 Minnesota. So it was a hectic weekend in college football.
Very, very hectic. Quick question. I could have missed it. Did you talk about the Mustangs?
I did not talk about SMU, but I do know that
Oh,
SMU, my alma mater, Nicole's alma mater, did defeat Pitt. I'm not.
I can't believe you. I really cannot believe you because you highlighted all these people except your own home.
Well, I don't really.
So I
That
will
was
carry.
Pitt necessarily supposed to beat SMU?
Was ranked number 18th and SMU was ranked number 20th.
Okay, all right, you got me. You got me.
And we smacked the shit out of them. So it was a great game. I actually tuned in. It was SMU's homecoming. So many people did not believe SMU was going to come into the ACC conference strong. And so far, we have been proving everyone wrong. And so I'm pretty excited about
I
that.
was one of those non-believers, and to my defense, the ACC conference is still weak. But congrats to the Mustangs.
There's a lot of teams in the Big 12 that are not ranked within the top 15 or top 12. So, but I understand where you're coming from.
Because they're all
But
good. They're all really good. I think that the SEC is in freaking shambles. The Big 12 is in shambles. The Big 10, we know who's running the Big 10. It's going to
shambles,
be
shambles.
Oregon, and Ohio State's going to be a close second. And then who is it? The ACC, you got Miami, who's probably going to finish first. And then who's a
Guy, who said Miami's gonna finish first?
I said
Miami will most likely.
I said Miami will probably finish first. I didn't say definitely because we still got a couple more weeks of college football. We still got 4 or 5 weeks left.
For sure, I predict that SMU will go against Miami in the ACC championships, and SMU will win. But that's my prediction. My prediction was
Okay.
SMU was going to be successful in the ACC. So far, my prediction has been correct.
Okay.
So I think I'm on a roll.
All right.
But talking about different rankings, you're funny.
Go ahead.
You're just like I'm hyper today. Talking about a ranking. So the college football playoffs has officially came out with their own rankings. And so we can throw away the AP poll and we can focus on what really matters. And so let me just run down the top 15. Exactly. Let me just run down the top 15. Okay, we have Oregon on number 1, Georgia number 2, Ohio State number 3, Miami, wow, number 4, Texas is at 5, Penn State's at 6, Tennessee's at 7, Indiana's at 8, BYU, the only SMU's only loss is at number 9, Notre Dame's at number 10, Alabama's at number 11, and they look really interesting at number 11 because I've never seen them that low, like ever. Boise State's at number 12. I definitely think that's a fluke.
Yeah.
Shout out to Boise State. SMU's at 13. LSU's at 14. A&M is at 15.
Couple discrepancies there. First of all, between LSU, A&M, Bama, Georgia, Tennessee.
Yeah.
3 of those teams are going to have one more loss to them because they're playing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama is a 3-loss team that's in the top 15. What do you have them at? What are they? What are they?
They're at 11.
Yeah. So Alabama is a 3-loss team that could potentially make its way into the college football playoffs. I would say absurd, but the SEC is so dominant this year, and like we mentioned at the beginning of the season, the podcast, they were going to cannibalize each other and take each other out because they're literally playing each other. Upcoming games, not immediately next week, but you still got Bama versus LSU.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Bama versus LSU.
You still have Texas versus Alabama.
There's still some crazy games that are
I'm like,
happen.
Wait, so like, Alabama could potentially be a 4-loss team.
The crazy thing about it is, I get where you're coming from, though. Like, they're ranked low, but their conference is so crazy, and their ranking technically doesn't reflect the rigor and competitiveness and magnitude of that conference. So I get that.
Yeah.
I do get that.
I still think, to be clear, I still think that a 3-loss Alabama team would be a Miami.
For sure.
And I had some discrepancies with some other teams on there. Boise, I don't know why they were up there.
They haven't played not a goddamn soul.
But neither has Miami. Miami has played nobody ranked all year. Nobody ranked.
Yeah, I'm excited for them to go against SMU. I looked at SMU's regular schedule, and they're actually not playing Miami. Is that a thing?
Yeah. Sometimes in some of the conferences, like
because they're in the same conference.
Yeah, but there will be 2 divisions. So SEC, for example, there's so many teams in the SEC that there are 2 divisions.
Got you.
So you won't play everybody in your conference.
Can happen.
Big 12 this year, everybody's not playing everybody. You have Colorado creeping up, and then you surprisingly have Texas Tech tied for 2nd place in the Big 12 right now. So interesting. Yeah, they won't make it in, but let's give the Red Raiders some hope.
They won't make it in. Okay. Do we have anything for some college football?
Well, let's go over what are some good games to watch out for this upcoming week. What's coming up this week? I think we got like 2 big games. 2 ranked opponents going against each other.
Some good games coming up for this week is Georgia versus number 2 Georgia versus number 16 Ole Miss, and we also have number 11 Alabama versus LSU, which is ranked 14th. So that's probably the most bang for our buck games. All of the rest, obviously, there are other games coming up, but we specifically kind of want to highlight games where it's a team in the top 12 and they are going against a team that's relatively close within maybe the top 15 to top 18.
Yeah, basically, we just want to highlight the games that will have an effect on the playoff brackets.
Rankings. Yeah. Exactly. All
right.
So that's basically it.
So what's next? Tell us what's next. We got a couple different other sports to cover.
So as you guys know, that I am a humongous basketball fan. Basketball has my heart, and I am super happy that college basketball is back. But some interesting news. So with the LSU women's basketball team, Blastier Poa, she files a lawsuit against U.S. Immigration Services after they denied her P1A athlete visa application. What the hell is that, and what is going on with that? So we all know that NIL is a big deal, and it puts a lot of money in these student athletes' pockets, except for international student athletes. They do not get to benefit from NIL. The issue is Lance Tirapoa has over 200,000 Instagram followers. I say that to say she has a lot of influence. And so there's a lot of money left on the table because she is an international student. So obviously I don't know what P1A is and what's going on, but basically that basically is an internationally recognized like immigration thing that she can apply for, and it includes athletes and internationally recognized that are internationally recognized and have a reputation on an athletic team, and they have denied that visa. Therefore, she is suing them because clearly she feels like she applies to that subset, and applying for that and getting approved, she can be able to get monetized.
That's so
And so,
interesting because
honestly,
most people do not know that the international college athletes
don't get
do
money.
not benefit from NIL at
They don't get.
all.
They don't, and it's crazy. And Cardosa, from the
South
South
Carolina.
Carolina basketball team, she is someone who also did not benefit from NIL, and she won a national championship.
Yeah.
Actually, so did last year. So
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's crazy. So prayers out to her because she's missing out on some crazy dollars, and I'm sure that's frustrating. And we all know any type of application for all that stuff probably took months. I'm sure she
Yeah.
probably filed it in like January and
Yeah.
was like just not hearing back or something like that.
Yeah, probably.
So that's ridiculously crazy. That's all I really have for college basketball specifically.
Oh,
Have anything for that?
yes, I do. I want to bring up Carmelo Anthony's high school senior son is getting ready to go to college. His name is Kiyan Anthony. Some of you may have
Yep.
heard him because he is officially ranked the number one college
Oh, really?
basketball athlete in the country right now.
He was just on Angel Reese's podcast, and I heard it was a good podcast.
I've watched a couple episodes.
I watched
yeah.
a couple. I watched a couple of clips here and there, but I haven't completely tuned in. But I am curious who he's going to choose and whether or not he wants to follow in his father's footsteps.
Yes, so we know that his father, Carmelo Anthony, went to Syracuse and played basketball for their
and
team.
and won a national title.
Yep.
There.
And so he has actually narrowed it down. He announced on Angel Reese's podcast, Unapologetically Angel, last week that he narrowed his college choices down to his top three, with those schools being Auburn, USC,
Okay.
and then his father's
Syracuse.
alma mater, Syracuse. Yeah.
Interesting. I don't blame him for the USC. I'm not gonna lie.
I think that people, and maybe basketball is a little bit different, but I don't think USC athletes get as much glory as other schools because one, it's in California, but it's in Los Angeles. And so when you look at USC compared to other schools, the big difference is other college schools are in college towns or they're in places
Yeah.
where they're not competing with actual professional athletes. And so you would think like, oh, these athletes are a big deal at like your Alabamas and Oklahomas and blah 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 blah. But they go to LA, they go to school in LA where there's
It's a lot going on.
it's a lot going on. You got TV shows and award shows and Emmys, Grammys, Oscars, BET Awards, MTV Awards, all of that going on. Plus, you have the city with the most professional sports. You've got how many basketball teams there? Like the most professional sports out of any city in the U.S. So they have a lot to compete with, and I don't think people really realize that these games aren't as highly attended as you think they are. I went to a USC football game, and the stadium was only 1/3 filled, and I was genuinely
They're
shocked.
battling with so many. Yeah, they're battling with so many distractions, but at the same time, I understand. I guess obviously I don't know specifically why USC is a part of his like top schools, but I can only imagine specifically because basketball trainers, the amenities that he can get, just like how Bronny James went to USC. Like there's just so much going on, and probably money. Like there can be potentially a lot of NIL dollars and opportunities.
Well, your dad
that
is
he can
Carmelo
get from being in
Anthony,
that
so
area.
I think that Carmelo Anthony being your father might hold a little bit more weight than going to USC. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
I can see that. I just can see LA being I can just see LA being a solid ground to make
Well,
money.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Like point blank
obviously
period.
proximity matters. If you're in LA and all the commercials and stuff are being shot in LA, it's a lot better to just be like, oh, let me just drive an hour down the street versus fly from New York, upstate New York, from Syracuse, and then you get back to practice the next day. Like, you have to turn around right after your photo shoot or your commercial shoot, go back
Right.
home across 3 time zones and ready for
Yeah.
practice in the morning. So yeah, proximity definitely matters.
Right.
But the,
But speaking of Angel Reese, there's a lot of discussion and discussion regarding Angel Reese. Here's a little bit of a rundown, not too much, but one, Shaq just went on her podcast, and that got a lot of buzz.
I heard.
And honestly, that got a lot of buzz. Honestly, he was low key hitting on her, and I'm sure that was a little disappointing. But either way, woman's story, very typical. And also, a lot of people have been literally staring at Angel Reese and basically stating, she's gonna go bankrupt soon, or like she's gonna run out of money because she said that her WNBA salary doesn't pay for her $8,000 rent in Chicago. Like that's the only funds that she gets. So, what do you think about all that?
Which part? The
Sorry, it was pretty loaded. It was
it was
loaded.
a loaded
And
question.
so and we skipped the week, so I got a lot to say. But
I think
answer
that
whatever you want.
okay, so I think that we have to bring race into this. And I say that I hate to bring a race, I really don't give a damn. Race matters for context. So, being African American, uh, we don't have a strong history with financial security or acumen and being just like firmly educated on do's and don'ts of finances. So we don't typically grow up with that. Um, so I wish that there was someone that could out there that could, help Angel Reese out because I think the $8,000 a month is absolutely ridiculous. Going from a college dorm to paying $8,000 a month, I think that you can get a really, really nice apartment in
Wait,
Chicago.
who said that? Who said there's not someone helping her?
I'm not saying that there's not someone helping her. I wish that there was someone that
Okay.
could, I guess, be more of an influence to make her like not purchase a apartment that's $8,000 a month because an $8,000 a month apartment comes out to like 1.2 million at the end of the year. What is the math on that?
What? $8,000 a month comes out to 96K.
Well, I said a year. I said a year, not a year. I'm talking about in homes. If you pay that, like that,
I didn't
that's
even
a home.
I didn't mean to come at you like
No, no,
that.
no, no, no. That's good. You corrected me. You held me accountable. But no, $8,000 a month would get you $1 million home in most cities. If you're paying $8,000 a month, that would be the ticket. That would be the mortgage on a
For
$1 million
sure.
home. So it's like, oh my gosh,
For
that's
sure.
just like $8,000, just like 96
Out
thousand dollars in the wind. And like we said, like she's only making
in the
70
wind.
something, 77,000 in the WNBA. So I think it's a little irresponsible, but I don't want to say irresponsible because it's like she's still like 22.
I think that overall people are hating on Angel Reese. Here's for one. Everybody knows that the WNBA players don't make a lot of money. Yeah, her first year salary is around like 77K.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Also she just got I believe multi-year deal with Reebok. That is over that's a couple of millions of
Yeah,
dollars.
yeah, yeah.
Boom. And that's just one of many. She also has an endorsement with like Reese's Pieces. She's getting
Money from her podcast.
she is chilling. I think it still goes down to we're watching a young black woman do whatever the hell that she wants and live her life. And she's very confident doing it. And she doesn't really, display a humble bone and that kind of grind some gears,
But I do
in
think
people's bodies.
because I was being nosy and I did read some of the comments, and so I don't think that a lot of the comments that she got on that topic were hate. Maybe they could have.
You think people were trying to teach her?
I
They
think
wanted
that
her
I
to
think that
not.
people were concerned with her finances and just the longevity of paying $8,000 a month because it's like okay, like it's just not the responsible thing if that's what you can make as your job. It's like a bulk of that should be put into savings or some type of account for a rainy day. But I mean, I think I'm her being able to afford it is not my concern. We know she can afford it with all of her deals and all of her extra stuff. It's just, is it the
Yeah,
best financial decision for a single woman with no kids to get a, one or two bedroom apartment that costs $8,000 a month? Because in Chicago, for $4,000 a month, you can get something really, really
you can
nice.
get a nice
You can get something,
thing. You
and
can
we're
get a
not even
nice
saying like
thing.
live in the trenches. Like you could get something, maybe not as high up, maybe not as big, but like, Angel, you travel so much. It's like, do you need an apartment that's
Are
eight?
you
Yeah, are
home?
you home enough to even enjoy an $8,000 a month? But her money, she does what she wants to, what she wants to do with that. But we've seen so many cases of uh of
People
of
losing money.
of athletes having millions and blowing through it because they did not do what they needed to do at the beginning of their careers to save that money for the end of to make it last beyond their career. So I was making the comment out of genuine concern for the longevity of that, being able to sustain that. But I understand that that's everybody's heart. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's her money, so she can do whatever she wants with it.
Speaking of money, we previously talked about Unrivaled, the women's 3-on-3 league that was founded by Breonna Stewart, who was on the New York Liberty, and Nafisa Collier, who was on the Minnesota Lynx
Mm-hmm.
WNBA team.
Uh,
They have offered Caitlin Clark $1 million to join the league, which is versus her $77,000,
74.
$76,000. 74,000. You said that kind of funny. Which is, let me start over. Unrivaled, the women's 3-on-3 league, who is founded by Nafisa Collier from the Minnesota Lynx and Breonna Stewart from the New York Liberty, has officially offered Caitlin Clark $1 million to participate and play on the Unrivaled League. And I don't think there's any news on whether or not she has accepted or not, but I would take that bread.
I think that it's very low risk for Caitlin Clark. It's like take the money because at the end of the day, if you get hurt in that league and aren't able to participate in the WNBA, it's like, well, at least you have $1 million. So that's 12 years salary for you. So
Right. And so I'm excited to actually watch this league. I want to be like overwhelmed with sports content and things to watch on sports. And so I'm excited that there are going to be more options to specifically actually watch women's
so
basketball.
let me ask you a question.
Actually,
Let me ask you a question about women's
what's
basketball.
up?
So with this league, say Caitlin Clark does accept the money and goes and plays in this league. We already know that there was some misdirected anger towards Caitlin Clark the entire WNBA season. We can agree to that.
Wait, we can agree to what? I'm sorry.
That there was some misdirected like animosity or anger towards Caitlin Clark throughout the WNBA season. I mean, she was being guarded more aggressively. I don't want to say bullied, but she was definitely being played a lot more aggressively than the average player, and she accounted for like half of the fouls occurred on Caitlin Clark.
We're on her.
Yeah.
Yes, I will say. Yes, I will say that in basketball, when before you play a team, you do film and recognize who the best player is
Yeah.
and have tactics to be able to defend them.
Okay.
Yes.
Alrighty. Mrs. Politically correct. Anyways, as I was saying, I think that with that already pre-existing animosity that some of the players had, or that some of the players allegedly had towards Caitlin Clark, I think that that will continue in the 3-on-3 league, especially when players hear that she was offered $1 million to play, because I guarantee you everybody else was not offered $1
They
million
not.
to play. So
They might get a food
the
stipend.
fact that her salary, if she chooses to participate in that league, was even made public, I would not have let that get out, or I would try my hardest to not let it get out that she was being paid that much,
That's
because
actually a really good.
there's no way that the other players are getting paid $1 million to participate.
That's actually a really really good point. I guess what I think about that is I guess you just really just can't stop her shine. I mean, it just is what it is. But I get where you're coming from. You're like, man, y'all are might be getting like 50K. I'm getting $1 million.
How long do we
And
know
I'm
how
not
long
doing
the league is?
I am not sure, but I can check.
Okay. Yeah, that would be my only concern for her, but it still makes more sense to just
8 weeks in total.
$1 million
Eight
in
weeks
eight
in total
weeks.
is 2 months. 8 weeks in total.
Making 500K a month is crazy.
Making 500K is beautiful.
Huh. Sheesh.
Making 500K is so beautiful. So I'm rooting for her. We'll see. And I definitely understand the quote unquote why people say it's animosity. I do think it was specifically it's the issue with Diana Taurasi, and then it was followed by the Kennedy Carter situation.
Yeah.
And then people played her hard. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. But I think that's all I have for women's basketball.
All right. So what's next?
What's next is did you see the game, the 49ers game last week where
Yes.
Nick
The
Bosa
answer is yes.
showed everyone what okay.
So
For those who don't know,
explain, set the scene, set the scenario for those that don't know the situation. Did you want to set the scene, or you want me to?
You can set the scene.
Do you know who the player that was originally getting interviewed was when Bosa?
Brock Purdy.
Okay, so Brock Purdy was being interviewed in a post game interview at the 49ers game, and Nick Bosa went to his locker room, got his hat, his Make America Great,
Got what hat?
his Trump Make America Great Again hat, puts it on, and purposely disrupts the interview to let his political stance be seen. Now, obviously, throughout the entirety of sports, we have heard, typically when it's coming from Black players speaking out on political issues or saying who they're voting for, we've heard shut up and dribble, leave the politics to the politicians, stay in the locker room and do what locker room talk is. We've heard all of that. We've heard, keep athletes out of sports. But then we have Nick.
Keep athletes out of politics.
Yeah, out of sports. I said, out of politics. Thanks. And then you have Nick Bosa that comes and does this. So it's like, okay, what happened to this whole narrative of keep, the athletes out of politics? Because we didn't get that same response from that same audience that was telling the Black players to shut up.
In fact, he interrupted Nick Purdy's whole interview just to do that.
But then turned around and when asked in the post-game press conference to speak more about, his hat and his political stance, that he made it a point to let it be known, he said, "Oh, I don't want to talk about that."
It was like,
why all the antics just to sit there and not expand like you wanted us to hear, to know your political stance? So why, when you're specifically asked about it, you can't expand on it? Because if I recall correctly, when Collin Kaepernick did the same thing and gave his political views and some criticism towards the U.S. and its police systems.
Frowned upon. However, that is a different situation.
Why? Why is it a different situation? Because I asked this on Instagram.
I think Collin Kaepernick's situation is different than Nick Bosa flashing his hat post-game. Collin Kaepernick took a knee during the Pledge of Allegiance prior to the game and didn't necessarily interrupt anything per se, but it was during the process of starting a football game. Nick Bosa was and how many times did Collin Kaepernick do that? I guess it doesn't matter the amount of times. Nick Bosa shows his hat during a post-game interview, and that was it.
I do want to be clear. I actually don't have a problem with anything that Nick Bosa did. It's just it's like, why did you do all of this to not respond?
To say,
and then it's like, I think that when you think from a higher level, so not as like intricate. I think that they both did the same thing. Collins did his before the game. Bosa did his after the game.
After.
They were not disrespectful. They
Neither one.
did not disrupt the play of the game. And they both exercised their American citizen-born right to
Freedom of speech.
a peaceful protest and to say what
Yeah.
they want to say. So
Yeah.
that's what being American is being, I mean, well, that's one of the main points that other countries are like, oh, like I love that about
Can't
America
do.
is freedom of speech and the right to peacefully protest. And both of those players exercised that. But when Colin Kaepernick did it, I mean, the world was in shambles. It was,
Okay, but
he needs to get up. Da, 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 da.
not the
So my issue is not with the player, it's with the response that was given.
It's with the
It's
response.
like if you
Feedback.
felt that way about Colin Kaepernick and his protesting, you should have had that exact same energy.
Keep the same energy
for Nick Bosa.
Keep the same energy.
So either it's okay or it's not okay.
Let's ask the viewers: was Colin Kaepernick kneeling during the Pledge of Allegiance?
The Star Spangled Banner.
The same. I'm so sorry. Was Colin Kaepernick kneeling during the Star Spangled Banner prior to an NFL game the same thing as Nick Bosa showing his Make America Great Again hat post-game during an interview? You guys, let us know your take because I can see both sides.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm still like, if you thought that what Colin Kaepernick did was inappropriate, then what Nick Bosa did should have been inappropriate. But I thought what Colin Kaepernick did was appropriate, and I also thought what Nick Bosa did was appropriate. Nick Bosa just got on my nerves because when he brought attention, like when he got the attention that he wanted, he was like, "I don't want to talk about it." Like, what are you talking about? You clearly want to talk about it. You went to the locker room to grab this hat for attention. Got the attention and
literally
then and now you don't want the attention. I don't get it. It was like, what was the point? You're not gonna speak about anything, like whatever. So that was my whole thing with that. But we can move on.
Guys, let us know in the comments. Let us know, DM us, whatever you would like. But that is all I have. What about you, Jordan?
Well, I do want to give some messaging. So this episode will be released Tuesday morning. So we do want to encourage everyone, our listeners in the United States of America, to get out and exercise their right to vote. I don't want to hear the whole, I'm not into politics. Nigga, this is beyond politics. If you are a citizen in the US, politics is more than politics. This is about your life and things that will directly affect the way that you live said life. So I don't want to hear the sorry excuse of I'm not into politics. It's like, so you don't like live in the US? Like, I'm confused. Yeah,
please vote.
Do that.
Please vote. Please vote. It is your American right, and you do have a say. Your vote does matter, and it should be practiced. Have you voted, Jordan?
Yes, I did early voting before I went to Atlanta.
Awesome. I have voted as well, and I will be in the house on election day, away from everybody.
Because the traffic is going to be horrible.
And I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I just don't want to hear nothing. I don't want to hear it. So I will be out the way, in the cut, for real.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Nicole.
And I'm Jordan.
And you guys are tuned in again to the best podcast ever, the Playbook Diaries podcast. We will see you later. Peace.